that before.
Is being recorded.
I think I've done that before, and it loads it on my Zoom account. I think I also got a computer here, so I can record my sermon on here. Yeah. Okay. So this past weekend on Sunday, I had the privilege, and I want to stress it was a privilege and it was an honor, to be a keynote speaker in my local area down in Elsinore in Menifee. They have an interfaith group going. And I've started to get more and more involved in them as a way of, just reaching out. Good public relations, good, relations with other movements, other religions. And I was invited to be the keynote speaker at this particular event. What impressed me is one of the pastors got up. Now, they said that in previous years, they had been doing this around Christmas time, but that didn't really make it interfaith. So they decided to do it on Thanksgiving, and the theme is gratitude, an evening of gratitude, because that's what Thanksgiving is all about, gratitude. Just like even though we observe Thanksgiving, it is an American holiday. There's been talks about how religious it really is, but it is considered an American holiday, and it is a holiday of Thanksgiving, not unlike our own Jewish Thanksgiving, which is Sukkot. Very similar themes. And the preacher went on, talked about how gratitude, comes from being grateful. The Latin word gratis, giving thanks. Now, in a very real way, we Jews practice an evening of gratitude every Friday night, right? Because during the week, we have a series during our Amidah, what we call the Amidah, what the Talmud calls the tefillah, that prayer that we do silently, and then in the morning and afternoon, it's repeated. During the week, we have the three prayers, the three blessings, patriarchs, God's might, God's name. We have the same three at the end: temple service, thanksgiving, which is gratitude, and then peace. Now, during the week, the one prayer that we do for Shabbat is replaced by 13 supplications. We're asking for things. We're asking for redemption. We're asking for good health. We're asking for wealth, for success in our endeavors, right? We're asking for the renewal of the temple, et cetera, et cetera. But on Shabbat, we don't do that because Shabbat is all about completion. It's all about you're a complete person, you get your extra soul, and you be thankful. You're not you're wanting for nothing. You're giving thanks. It's an interesting concept that a lot of times, and this is what the preacher was saying, we don't enjoy what we have enough. We always tend to want more, which can be good and bad. It's good to be ambitious. It's good to want things. But it's also good to take a step back and say, let me look at what I have. Maybe not just materially, but maybe also emotionally and spiritually. Am I the person I want to be? Am I the person who I want to be as someone fulfilled? Now, there was also an article, I think it was also repeated in My Jewish Learning, where a rabbi gave her take on the idea of Thanksgiving and looked at it from a Jewish point of view. Now, those of you that have been through a Beit Din at AJU, one of the first things they talk about, they ask you in your Jewish practice, is do you say the Modeh Ani every morning when you wake up? What is Modeh Ani? Modeh comes from the word to give thanks. Our name as a people, Judaism, comes from the tribe, the largest surviving of the three tribes, Judah. And Judah's name comes from the word Yehuda, which comes from the word Hodah, which means to give thanks. Yehuda also has what in it? The four letters of what they call the Tetragrammaton, the four-letter name of Hashem, the ineffable name. Ineffable meaning we can never really understand what God is because we're physical material beings. But in traditional prayer books, we have this little affirmation as we wake up in the morning. Upon rising, Modeh ani, or Modah, feminine, ani lefanecha, melech chai v'kayam, shechazarta bi nishmati v'chemla rabba emunatecha. I gratefully thank you, O living and eternal King, for you have returned my soul within me with compassion. Abundant is your faith. Even so, continuing with our morning affirmations. And I've been to synagogues that don't do a lot of this. They don't do a lot of the morning bracha. They do maybe a couple of prayers and they skip to the Psalms, which they themselves are done to thank God for all the bounty and all the wondrous things God gives us. But one of the other things that we thank God for is that long laundry list of blessings. Blessed are you, Hashem, our God, King of the universe, who gave the heart understanding to distinguish between day and night. Gratitude. Who has made us, who has separated us, who has made us Jews. Who has made us free. Gratitude. Who gives sight to the blind, clothes the naked, releases the bound, straightens the bent, spreads the waters out over the heavens, provided us our every need, which is kind of a tricky one. Firms our footsteps, girds Israel with strength, crowns Israel with splendor, gives strength to the weary. Beautiful words of thanksgiving that kind of go along with Thanksgiving. She also mentioned, this rabbi, Psalm 100. Psalm 100 is actually part of our liturgy, but we really, in the conservative movement, we really don't do it very much. And I don't know that it's actually part of the Shabbat Psalms that we do. But during the week, we do Psalm 100, and it's recited while standing. It's omitted, I'll give you this as kind of trivia, Erev Yom Kippur, Erev Pesach, and Chol Hamoed Pesach. Why is it deleted during Passover? Because traditionally it was done with a full loaf of bread, which of course we don't have on Passover. But here's the translation. Mizmor LeTodah, a song of thanks. Huriyot Adonai kol haaretz, a song of thanksgiving, call out to Hashem, everyone on earth. Avdu et Adonai b'simcha, serve Hashem with gladness, come before him with joyous song. Da'u ki Adonai hu Elohim, know that he is God, hu asanu, that he made us and we are his people and the sheep of his pasture. Enter his gates with thanksgiving. For his courts with praise, give thanks to him, bless his name. For Hashem is good, his kindness endures forever, from generation to generation is his faithfulness. So there's a lot to be thankful for. And sometimes we actually have to look for it. Sometimes when we're down in the dumps, we don't really feel it. We feel like life is more of a hassle than it is something to be thankful for. We feel that it's, people retire, some people. They've had a life of drudgery. They say, oh, it's over. I got a few remaining years before I go to meet my Maker. But we should live every day with thanks. And I would suggest, if you're not there, get there. Get there by looking into yourself and seeing what's going to make you happy. Because if you're happy, if you're doing something that makes you feel like you want to give thanks, then you're going to excel at it. You're going to do well. And you're going to enjoy life. But again, let's not lose sight of the fact that in this season, it's good to sit there and take stock of what you have. Think of how grateful you are. Think of the good things in your life. It's hard, it's tough sometimes to lose sight of that. I'll close with this. Years ago in New York, I can't remember the guy's name. I think his first name was Dick. I want to say Sutphin. He had this little midnight show on WNBC, and he called it Love and Touch. And it was very touchy feely. The '70s was, the generation of the decade of pop psychology, with people getting in touch with themselves, going on weekend retreats, etc. And somebody called in and said, and I know I'm going outside of our faith, our religion, but they said, people look at December, as a special time, peace on earth, goodwill toward everybody. Isn't that hypocritical? Isn't it hypocritical that we take out this slice of the year and we pretend that life's great and we're nice to each other? And Dick comes back to him and says, I understand your feelings, but look at it this way. Is it good that we can be that way for at least 2 weeks out of the year, or 3 weeks, whatever it is, instead of no weeks out of the year? At least we're doing it for a little bit of that time. And I thought about this when this pastor was up talking about taking this time to give thanks and appreciate what you have. We don't need to confine it to just this time of the year. But if we do that, if we give thanks now and take stock of all the great things that we have in our life, then maybe it'll carry forward for longer than just this week or just this time of the year. So let's think about that as we go forward. And